So, you want to make some professional quality picture frames? No worries. I've made all the mistakes for you so you don't have to. And it's easy. Let me show you how. Now, a lot of people overly complicate picture framing. However, I'm happy to share that there are only 3 things that are super important to get a perfect frame every time. Firstly, cutting your miters at a precise 45-degree angle. Next, you've got to make sure that the lengths of your side match exactly. Thirdly, you've got to smash that like button. If you can get these 3 things right, you'll have perfect frames every time. So first up, we need to mount our cross stitch onto a board. I roughly size it up, make a quick cut on the table saw because I'm too lazy to use a handsaw, and then I just use double-sided tape to hold the piece in place. I have used staples in the past, but fine double-sided tape gives a much more even hold and it's easier to work with. Now that we have our artwork size, we can cut the frame pieces to length. I milled this wood from an old pallet board, and if you'd like to see how to straighten and mill wood, click the video above. The easier option, however, is to just grab a piece of pre-dressed wood from your local shop. There are plenty of ways to work out how to cut your pieces. However, the main thing to remember is to measure from the inside of the frame to make sure it fits your artwork. You can use a miter saw to make these cuts, or if you're more skilled than I with a handsaw, you can use one of those. I use a picture frame sled that I've made. There are plenty of similar sled designs on YouTube, however if you want me to show you how to make this design, please let me know and I'll put one together. If you plan on making a few frames, I would strongly advise at least making a simple jig to make your life easier. I particularly like this design because it makes sure I get perfect miters every time, and has a stop block with a ruler on it so I can measure and match my lengths perfectly. Next up, we want to cut our rabbet. This is the overhang or lip that your artwork sits in when mounted in the picture frame. A normal size rabbet's around 6mm, or 1/4 inch, but you can really make this any size you like. Just be careful on your blade height while doing these cuts. Take your time, double check everything, and you'll be fine. After doing a quick dry fit to check your frame size, we're ready for the glue up. The best way I've found to get a perfect fit every time is to use what's commonly known as the blue tape method. You simply lay out your frame pieces, tape up each corner, apply some glue, and then fold it together. For larger frames, I will chuck a couple of clamps with super loose pressure to make sure everything's nice and tight. But with smaller frames like this one, clamps are really not needed. Splines help give the frame some real strength. I've made this simple jig that I can run to the table saw to cut these in. However, you can hand cut them with a saw if you prefer. My biggest piece of advice is to cut these splines with the blue tape still on the corners, as this will reduce the tear out when running your frame through the saw. For these, we'll do 2 splines on each corner, as I feel like this will give it a nicer look. However, you can just do a single spline if you prefer, or if you're doing a thinner frame. Next, we'll cut the inserts. These should be the same size as whatever the thickness of the blade in your table saw is. Now you want to be cutting these on the outside of your table saw, unlike how I'm doing it, as if you cut them against the fence, the piece can get shot back at you by the blade. So if you are cutting them this way, please be careful. I speak from experience on this. These splines should be snug, but not too tight. If you have cut them and they end up being a bit tight, you can sand them down. Just make sure you don't put too much pressure when sanding so you keep the nice flat edge. Once you have your strip cut down to the correct width, we can cut them into smaller pieces ready to glue into the frame. Once they are glued in place, we can cut off the excess using a pull saw. Now, you're better off leaving excess when cutting that you can sand off later, rather than cutting into the frame itself and needing to repair it. You can also use a playing card to put in between the saw and the frame if you are worried about damaging it. Next up, we sand. I like to do this by hand, but if you feel like using an orbital sander, go for it. Make sure you're especially careful at the miter joints, as you always want to sand with the grain. After getting down to a 240 grit, you'll need to wet a rag and run it over the frame to bring the grain up, and then do one final sand before applying the finish. Now feel free to use whatever finish you want. Personally, I like to showcase the wood grain, so I generally go for a wipe-on satin poly to leave a natural feel. This time, as the wood hasn't got quite as much colour as I'd like, and the piece is mainly black, I'm going to try a stain with 2 coats of poly and see how it all comes up. Well, there you have it. Simple, easy to make, gallery quality frames using only a table saw.